assignment, homework number from lesson number 28, where the homework assignment was, after we've set up the tracking, to go ahead and use region of interest by selecting an object through a box, and then it would contour and then box that box, and then start tracking that object that you boxed. So it gets a little tricky in the lighting situation I have here, but let me demonstrate what I have, it working, and then I can show you how the program works. So I'll go ahead and start the program. By default, it has a default value, and when it starts, it'll tell you that it's in the selecting mode. There's two modes, selection and tracking. And it has a default value, which is the cap I have for this glue here. Let's see if I can get it in frame, this glue over here. So that's basically what I started with. so so what you do is, click, hover over the red dot and goes into selecting mode, which is the default anyway. And then you can go ahead and select the object, and once you've selected a box, it'll tell you what the value, upper and lower limits it's going to use. And then when you hover over the green dot, it goes into tracking mode, and it'll go ahead and track it just nicely like this. Oh, it's behaving pretty well today. So you can go back and forth, up and down. Now I can go ahead and select another object. Now first let's go back into select mode. So hover over the red object, and we're back into select mode. And then I have this this probably fake Swiss Army knife, and so I can go ahead and select the range on that. Let me get it. The tricky part is you want to make sure that you're getting exactly, you don't get any extra stuff, because if you get any extra stuff, it's going to pick up on that, and that's not good. All right, I don't like that. That's not good. We're going to select it again. So back in. I haven't gotten out of tracking mode, so it is still able to select again. So I can go ahead and select again. Let's see, get that. And then you can look at your preview and say, yeah, that's pretty much what it should be tracking. And put that down for a second. Let's go back into tracking mode. And there you go. And it's going ahead and selecting and that, and it's ignoring the glue. No glue. But only my and I got another color object. This one was a little tricky because I've got, well, this is blue, so I don't want that here. So basically, I've got this object here. When it does that, it can go nuts. Okay, if you haven't selected anything and you're going back into tracking mode, it'll go back to tracking what it was tracking. So we go ahead and get it back in view. Again, the lighting tends to cause it a bit of a problem. It's picking up my hand. So we'll go ahead and stop it. Okay, now I can go ahead and select, and coloring is kind of tricky here, but go ahead and select this object, and it pretty much handles that, although it is picking up my arm a bit. So now let's go back into tracking mode, and then I can take this, and it'll move all over the place with that. Nice. Okay, back into select mode, and as you noticed over here, down here, it tells you which mode it's been, whether it's in selecting mode or tracking mode, and what values it will track from, or what it is tracking on. As you can see, the HSV values here. So that's the program, the demonstration of the program. So let me go ahead and go over the program. The basic idea is it's got two modes. It has a select mode, and it has a servo mode, or track mode. And basically, for the mouse actions, basically, the only thing it is, if you have the button down or you don't have the button down, you need that for your selection box. So if you have the button down, then the button down is true. When the event is for, that means you let go of the button. So it says button down false, because it changes. Anyway, this is pretty much the same as what Paul's been having. Gives you a few, what the mouse pointer is. So there's not much change here. So basically, over here, I create the dots. This is the position of the red dot and white dot. I have them proportional to the size of the frame. So I create my red dot over here, and which is about 0.03% from the right. The width, about 0.03% of the width from the right. The height doesn't change in either of them, so I have the height being 0.05% of the height of the entire frame. Then I draw the red circle, and then after that I draw this green circle 3 times the radius of the red circle, which is subtracted from the front. So basically, if you're here, then you move it here. So, alright, so if you're in select mode, there's a few states you're going to be in. If you're in select mode and you push the button down, that means you are starting to select an area. So, but if you got the button down, you're in you got two side modes. Either you just started the selection, or you're in the middle of making the selection, and you want to latch in on the first point. So if you haven't already been selecting, you just started and you're in select mode, then you want to get the mouse pointer X position, the mouse pointer Y position, X1 being the upper left hand corner, the 2 is the lower right hand corner. So you set those to where the mouse is to start, so both would be in the upper left hand corner. And you said, okay, you're in the middle of selecting. So if the button's still down and you've gone into the selection mode, you no longer want to initialize the x1, y1, and x2, y2 values. So now, as you're dragging, you're updating the x2 position, the lower right-hand corner, with where the mouse is. That's the x pause is what the mouse position, y pause. So the upper left is going to be the tuple of x1 and y1. Lower right is x2, y2. Paul had covered this, and you said I have it set for yellow, as Paul suggested, because of that quirk where when he moved the mouse over the box, then it tended to select the box when it was green. I have a thickness of 3. I fixed that, and then you draw the rectangle as you're drawing it, from the upper left-hand corner to the right-hand corner that you determine based on your starting mouse position and your ending mouse position. Okay, so if you've let go of the button, now it's like the mouse is gonna. If you let go of the button, then the mouse event is gonna go ahead and set the button down to false. So basically, I had originally if the button isn't down and selecting, which means that you just let go of the button because you weren't selection mode, then go ahead and do some other stuff. But if you did that and you just clicked on the mouse without making a move, well now x1 and x2 and y2 both positions are going to be the same, and you can't work with that. So basically, if you've done that, if you clicked and let go in the same mouse position, then we're going to turn selecting off and forget about making a selection because you made a mistake. So here's when if it and that comes before this part. So if it x1 and x2 and xy and y2 are the same, then this will never get here because selecting will have been forced off. So if you let go of the button and you were in the middle of selecting, that means you're done. And if the values are not x1 and y1 being the same. So now you get your region of interest. Basically, what I did, in case you're going, you started here and you moved over here, you moved from the upper right hand corner, or you didn't start from upper left to lower right, then basically I'm using making sure that y1 is always the smaller value, y2 is always the bigger value of the y's, same with the x's. That way you're always going to have ROI be x and y. There's always going to be upper left to lower right. No problem there. And then we drew our box of what we selected. Region of interest, ROI. There's your ROI frame. And we display the frame. That's what that little part was up in the. I noticed Paul had that too. You can just as well not have that, and it'll work just fine. Just don't show it. Selecting is false because this is what our initialization is. Once we're done, we're already in this section. So now we don't want to come back to this in the next frame iteration. So now we got to convert our frame from BGR to BRG. Actually, it's BRG, isn't it? To HSV. And then this was the tricky part. Now that we have our region of interest, we have a frame, we have a matrix, how are we going to find out what the upper HSV values and the lower HSV values are going to be? We have to go pixel by pixel. CV2 may have a more elegant way of doing it, but the only way you can do it, that we know how to do it, is to go pixel by pixel, one at a time. And I wasn't sure how to get the X and Y values of the pixels, but we already have the starting position and ending position of the region of interest as it stands in the main camera view. So basically, we got to convert that because now the region of interest is a smaller value. So basically, the width is the starting position in the frame the ending position minus the starting position in the X and Y range. Now we got to reset the lower color values and the upper color values to 0. Actually, we need to get it from the first pixel, because now what we're going to be doing is we're going to go pixel by pixel, and we're going to view what the HSV values is on that pixel. If that pixel has if any of the H, S, or V values of that pixel is higher or lower than what you have in LC or UC, then go ahead and change that. And as a nice thing, I went ahead and printed out. Okay, now we're done selecting, and we've gotten all our values from the frame, from the ROI. We go and show what that value is, and that's the selection. Servo mode, well, we've done that a dozen times, so there's not much to this one. I took I had already originally started with the way instead of minus and plus of this incrementing and decrementing the servo values. I had the same problems that Paul showed, and I remember that we could convert and try to be a little proportional to a move. So basically, um, if the values, uh, if the error delta, I have delta. If the deltas are great big enough, and also slow it down, I'm using the time. I'm not using delay because delay will delay the entire thing. You don't want to do that. You want to keep the machine running. Um, then go ahead and you set your servo pan angle and your tilt angle based on what the angle is now minus the error, um, and slow that up a little bit by only going halfway or a third. And then finally, we want to make sure we're not exceeding the capabilities of the servo. So basically, if the servo angles are above or below a certain value, then set it at the limit. And the rest is what we've been learning all along. One other part here, this is the part that selects whether you're in servo mode or let's call it tracking mode. I probably should call it tracking. And select mode is if the hue, the red dots are basically hue equals 0, saturation 255, value 255, and you're already in servo mode. If then you want to go into select mode. So servo mode is false, select mode is true, so you're kind of flipping them, and then you tell everybody, hey, we're in select mode. We've just got into select mode. And then if the hue is 60, which is green, and of course we're using bright green, so saturation and value is 255, go ahead and flip it. Servo mode is true, select mode is false. Tell the user that you're now in tracking mode and what values the tracking is gonna be using, the lower and upper bounds. And that's pretty much the entire program. Hope you enjoy it and hope it helps you out. Thanks and have a good day.